Is it true that you resigned from Jackie Brown to do West Beirut? Is that?
I think we had 50 days on Jackie Brown, and I had 2 days left. And when the producer called from Paris and he said, look, we got the fund, I could not wait but to go immediately. So I went to Quentin and I said to Quentin, look, I gotta go do my movie. He says, you still have 2 days left. I said, I really gotta go. He says, go. So I went, and then I had to leave just a couple of days before.
Wow. Some of the things that I found very interesting watching it again now, and my first time watching it on the big screen, was you have such sensuality as a filmmaker. Like I found in all three of your films, West Beirut, Leela Says, and The Attack, that sex is a part of your filmmaking. It's a theme in there that you see, and sensuality, and how you also complement that with the camera. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, like, for example, some things that, like, I grew up in the Middle East, in Kuwait, and some of the things that we see in the film are a little bit taboo, just talking about sex, or just, these boys peeking and staring at this woman's boobs and talking about her underwear.
It was true though. It was like that.
But can you talk about, like, because I've seen that throughout your films, and I'm just curious, like, how are you informed by that as a filmmaker?
It's genetic, I think. It's probably.
You're a horny guy.
I lived surrounded by a very, very powerful figure in my life. It's my mom. My mom had a lot of influence in me, and she still has an incredible presence in my life. She's 76 years old now, and she's a lawyer, and she's still a working lawyer. And my mom, being an Arab woman, had always fought, until today, for women's rights. She's still fighting for introducing the civil marriage in Lebanon. Lebanon does not have civil marriage, it only has religious marriage. She fight against the female circumcision. She wrote a book about it. And she's still very, very active. I don't want to make it a philosophical and say because of my mom, writing process is much more organic than that. I can't pin it down to one reason only, but I know that I grew up in a very liberal family. My mom was very liberal. She was very militant, extremist in certain ways, radical. My mom is not a moderator like my dad is, but she left an everlasting impression about expressing yourself, including sexuality. Even though she comes from a very conservative Sunni Muslim family, she rebelled against the clerical thinking. And I kind of like always saw her as somebody who left a very big influence. But the reason I always talk about the womanhood and the womanship and the sexuality in my film is because, I don't know, maybe because I was brought up a liberal way, maybe because there was a lot of women in my family, like my aunts and my cousins. I really can't tell it, but wait till see the next film. The guy who plays Tariq, the main character, is actually my brother. And the reason I casted him is because I could not find, you see, in America, you go to a casting director, you go to an agent, and there is an incredible big range of choices that you have. Parents, if they encourage their kids to go into acting and they pursue it, and that's how it is. In Lebanon, you don't have that. Most of the parents are very afraid to let their kids out of high school. It's so sacred to finish high school. It's so, it's their main worry. My parents were more worried about me not finishing high school than about the war. Really, it's something like incredible pressure. So when I went to Beirut and started looking for casting, I could not find a single family that would agree to let their kids, 14, 13 years old, 15 years old, out of high school. And then finally I said, damn, I have my brother. My brother is really that age. And I gave it to him one time. He came to America just before I start filming. And I was driving with my dad and my brother Rami up to Yosemite. My dad had never seen it. And I remember so well, I'm driving the car, my dad's sitting next to me, and my brother Rami is sitting in the back seat, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and he was laughing. And I knew what scenes he was laughing. And then I came back to Beirut when we started prepping. I started looking for so many other casting just to make sure that I'm not being nepotist. You do not want to hire your brother just because, you want to go through a filtration system. But my mind was stuck on him. I thought he really knew the role. I felt it.
How was it directing him?
It was very easy. He was just so comfortable with this personality, with the role of Tariq. What was difficult is the other guy, the small kid, because of the limits that I had casting from regular family. Finally, my mom suggested, she says, you know what? We don't mind to have Rami, my brother, leave school. But how are you going to cast the other kid? I said, I don't know, Mom. I've been looking for 3-4 months. I couldn't find. She says, I got an idea for you. Go to an orphanage. That's right. I went to an orphanage. And I started looking, and it was a Muslim conservative orphanage, and I found him right away. And I felt like that guy has a look. I got to have him. Only he turned out to be a huge crook. He was a thief, and because he had to survive that way.
Wow.
He was so poor. In fact, when I started filming, he was living in a refugee camp, the Palestinian refugee camp, even though he's Lebanese, extremely poor. I told the producers, I can't be filming while he's there. How about I rent an apartment and I'll have an extra room and I'll give it to him so he can stay close, I could keep watch on him, keep my eyes on him. And one time I wake up in the morning and I find out that my vitamin pills is gone. Then the next day, the toothpaste is gone. Every day something was being gone. Then I said, could it be this guy? I talked to my mom about it. She says, look, it's possible. So I remember I put a $10 bill on a counter, and I waited. Next day it was gone. And we ended up paying him his per diem that way. Every day would leave him $20. So he was just very blunt about it, and I did never ask him, Muhammad, his name is. The sad thing is, during the shooting, toward the end, he discovered that he had a father. And he knew, actually, he had a father, but he never talked about it. The reason he did not mention about his father is to attract sympathy, because naturally, a human being want to help out orphans. So he kept his father's thing completely secret until the money came. We had to pay him his salary. And then my mom asked him, she says, we can't pay you, you're 16 years old. He says, well, I have a father. And we had to work out a way to pay him through his father. And then we find out later that all the money he was paid, his father took it because he was a heroin addict. So it was, it's always very, very complicated. But this guy he was very savvy. He was a real street kid. And he and my brother fell in love with that girl in the film, which caused the real problems. This is when the problem started, because, and I remember taking Rula, the girl, aside. I said, look, Rula, I know that my brother's in love with you, and the other guy, Muhammad, is in love with you. What are you going to do? She says, I don't care. I don't love none of them. So,
wow.
Yeah.